Okay, we're 29 minutes away from 9 o'clock, folks. Nice to have your company. I'm Duncan Garner. Welcome. Sean will be back in the morning. He's back from London, I think, today at some stage, so he'll be back in the hot seat, and we'll take it over from there. But I've really enjoyed it. It's been great fun. Been great, and lots of good feedback too. It's really good feedback. How's that? A guy sitting on his tractor in the middle of, just out of Twizel in the Mackenzie country, listening to the platform with his point of view, 28 years of age, and he's in the food production industry. He's not going anywhere, but so many Kiwis are. 30,000, almost 30,000 young people. When I say young people, aged between 18 and 30, which as a cohort is massive. I think that's 38% of all departures of the 72,000. So it's huge, and it hasn't been like that before. And we've always gone, we've always travelled, we've always left. We know that, we know those numbers. But these numbers are big, and no one's on top of them more than Dr. Paul Spoonley, who's a population expert. Paul, g'day, nice to have you on the program.
G'day, Duncan, how are you?
Really good, thanks. Hey, Paul, we've spoken about this many times over the years, but I tell you what, this I'm not surprised. We've seen all the numbers, we've seen the people leave, but as a group of young people, what does that do to a population? Does it matter that so many young people are leaving and may not be back? Many will be, but may not be back. What does it do to society? Is there anything that you experts like yourselves look at and talk about?
Yes, there is. I mean, normally I would say that we have a brain exchange in New Zealand. So we always have people leaving, and we always have young people leaving, Duncan. But what we tend to do is make up for the gaps with people coming in. But the arrivals are now down, the departures are up, and particularly the departure of New Zealand citizens. So over the last year, the numbers leaving who are New Zealand citizens has been tracking between 70,000 and 80,000. And that's a big gap. We're losing young people, as you said, and as Liam Dan said in the Herald at the weekend, we're also losing people in their 30s. So we're losing the young who are probably new graduates or just left school, new to the labour market, but also losing more skilled people.
Yeah, and so what are we? I was at a Bangladeshi cricket day yesterday. Actually, there's about 10,000 Bangladeshis now in New Zealand, and a lot of skilled migrants that have come out of Bangladesh who have ended up actually being shafted because of some terrible middleman who's taken the money and hasn't set up the job properly. So they're going through their own battles, but there's still skilled people coming to the country. But do we know what sort of skills everyone has, or have we just had an open door policy that said, look, let's just fill it up because we're losing so many?
Yeah, no, most of the people who are given permanent residence who come to this country are in the skilled migrant category. So that's okay, but we have the highest number of temporary migrants in the OECD, and the Minister has said that she's concerned about those who are on the lower skills. But of course, if we want our apples picked, then we need semi-skilled, lower skilled workers to do that. So we've become very reliant on the lower skilled migrants as part of our economy. The point you've made about Bangladeshis is an important one. The last government and this one they did put resources into looking at migrant exploitation. So that's an ongoing issue. We don't want people coming here and then being exploited by middlemen.
Well, I met a number of guys yesterday, Paul, who have paid big money to be here. Really nice guys, nice families and everything. And they get here, they've, $20,000, they put down, and there was a job, meant to be a job, and they've got skills, and it's quite an intelligent community. And they've just been, completely tipped up. And, of course, there's a welfare system here, but they didn't come for that. They came to transfer their skills,
Yeah, and we don't want them to coming here and then being tipped into the welfare system. That's not the point of migration. So we need to be very careful about who we select in the first place, Duncan. And we're generally pretty good, but the issue that I think is emerging is that MB, who run Immigration New Zealand, are not being given the resources to do that. So that's an issue. And then once they arrive here, we need to check that they are being treated fairly. We can't afford as a country for people to come here and then be shafted by somebody or to not be doing the job that we select them for. We need to make sure that our system is good both offshore but also onshore.
Remember those days when John Key was trying to close the the income gap between Australia and New Zealand, there was the brain drain as well. I think the gap was 35,000 people a year or something. So it's double that now. But it's the income levels. The Australia's really forged ahead. Their savings schemes way better. Compared to our KiwiSaver, it's more generous. Their cancer care, their medical system is. On all those crucial indicators now, it's so far ahead, isn't it?
It is. Two things. There's always push and pull factors. So, what's pushing people out of here? Well, of course, the government has cut a lot of government jobs. So those are young people who don't see a future here. And then there's the pull factors, as you mentioned, which is that Australia is so much better in terms of salaries and so on. And I think it's a huge issue that by comparison we are just not competing and keeping people. We need to attract people. All countries like us need, in the case of the healthcare system, we're going to need Filipino nurses. We're going to need South African doctors. So we need to attract people. But the issue at the moment is that we're not retaining people. They're going. Skilled people are going. And so that's creating a bit of an issue. And I was going to say before, normally I would talk about brain exchange. I think we probably now need to talk about brain drain.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that we're beginning to lose skilled people. If you look at the figures, the people that are leaving are in their 20s. So the peak is at age 25. And those are people who are about to enter our labour market, who probably have got some sort of post-secondary qualification. We just can't afford to lose those people, particularly if they stay overseas.
And I think they are increasingly, I think their mood has changed, Paul, and I think the narrative has changed. It used to be that you went and you came back, we all did that. But nowadays, more often than not, you're hearing people say, well, I haven't got a return ticket and I've got no return plans. I'll see where it takes me. Now, you know what opportunity is like overseas. They're going to land some great jobs, and they're jobs we can't compete with. And I don't think they will return. A lot of them won't return. Some of them will. But I just think, if you look overseas, the opportunity,
Sorry, Duncan. Yeah. And I'm increasingly talking about the centre of gravity. When we look at providing visas to extended family members, say parents, we talk about where is the centre of gravity. If the family are here and the grandchildren are here, then we'll consider an application from parents to come and live here, as long as they're not a drain on our welfare system or our health system. And when you look at Australia and you look at the size of the New Zealand population in Australia, then, if you're a grandparent sitting in New Zealand and all your kids and grandkids are in Australia, in Melbourne or Brisbane, why don't you move there as a retired person and live close to the grandkids? And I think that's increasingly the case. We've been talking about the 20-year-olds who've always, as you said, migrated, who've gone overseas from some experience. But I think we're seeing a lot more people who are in that 60-plus or 70-plus age group who are moving because, the grandkids are Australians.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw this, I was in Australia recently, Paul, and there are now suburbs just north of Surface, south of Brisbane, which are just fully New Zealanders now. So there's streets and streets and streets where you won't find an Aussie. They're all Kiwis, to the point where there are now New Zealand shops. Rather than send stuff over, they've actually set up over there. So, you see a couple of very familiar New Zealand shops.
It's the same experience. Yeah.
So it's become.
If you look at the Māori population, if you look at the Māori population, the largest Māori population in New Zealand is in Auckland, and then the second, I think, is in Brisbane. And so you're beginning to see that sort of New Zealandification, if that's a word, in Australia.